Today, right here.
Your one leg move?
Yeah. Sometimes it was very high tech. I would stand on one leg and sort of float around.
I hear you're very good at it. Can you show us?
Are you sure? I mean, it's very difficult.
Yeah, no, let's see it. Put some music on. Put some music on.
Some room. Makes
all right.
Oh, here she goes.
Wow.
It started as a whisper. 2 actresses, 2 separate interviews, and a surge of carefully coded truths that felt impossible to ignore. Hathaway and Zendaya never named names, but they didn't need to. When Zendaya spoke about industry giants sabotaging young stars and described women wearing crowns made of ash, the internet quickly connected the dots to Blake Lively. In the aftermath of Blake's court scandal involving Justin Baldoni, her once carefully curated image began to crack. What had previously sounded like vague shade suddenly felt pointed and intentional. Fans began digging deeper, rewatching old interviews, resurfacing moments that had long been dismissed, and piecing together a far more unsettling pattern. These were no longer random feuds or coincidences. They looked like calculated moves in a quiet but ruthless war for control, influence, and power within Hollywood's elite circles.
First Vogue cover, my second Vogue cover, and this is my most recent Vogue cover. My first Vogue shoot, I was just excited to be there. I was like, put me in whatever you want. I was 20. I felt very, very honored. At the time, I was still doing my Disney show, and this was happening at the same time, and I was kind of like, whoa.
Zendaya has always played the long game. Elegant, intelligent, and deliberate, rarely pulled into public drama or messy headlines. That's exactly why her words at a Vogue roundtable landed like a thunderclap. When she spoke about people in the industry who don't want young women to succeed unless they can control the narrative, the tone in the room shifted. "I've seen careers stalled over jealousy disguised as strategy," she said. No names were mentioned, but the silence that followed spoke volumes. Viewers immediately sensed this wasn't a hypothetical story or abstract critique. It felt personal, pointed, and loaded with experience. Almost instantly, social media erupted with speculation. Fans began connecting dots that had been ignored for years. Just a few years earlier, Zendaya had been cast in a major biopic, her biggest career step at the time, only for the project to mysteriously collapse weeks after production began. The official explanation was vague, creative redirection, but whispers behind the scenes told a different story. Blake Lively, who had reportedly been passed over for the role, was rumored to have quietly inserted herself into the process. Meetings suddenly stopped. Producers went cold, calls weren't returned, and just like that, Zendaya was out. At the time, it was brushed off as typical studio chaos, the kind of behind-the-scenes mess Hollywood thrives on. But in light of Blake's recent court drama and Zendaya's carefully chosen words, the situation reads very differently now. This wasn't bad luck or coincidence. It looked like sabotage, quiet, calculated, and expertly executed. Zendaya never confirmed the rumors, and she never had to. In Hollywood, the truth often doesn't need to be spoken out loud to be understood.
Anne, can we have you on top?
How involved were you with your look tonight?
I mean, I'm wearing it. It was a group effort. Adira Abergeld had this amazing idea for my hair. Kate Lee, I love what she did with my eyes. And obviously, Pierre Paolo for Valentino did an unbelievable job. Helped by Charlotte Maxwell and Penny Love.
Zendaya's message was a whisper, but Hathaway's was a scalpel. Just days after Zendaya's Vogue appearance, Hathaway dropped a podcast interview that sent shockwaves through the industry. One line in particular went instantly viral. "Some women build empires, others burn bridges and wear crowns made of ash." The delivery was icy, precise, and impossible to misinterpret. Hathaway went on to share a story from the 2015 award season, recalling how a powerful actress quietly spread false rumors that ultimately derailed another woman's Oscar campaign. The allegations were never proven, but the whispers alone were enough to slow the target's momentum, and in the end, the other woman walked away with the win. She never named names, but fans didn't need a roadmap. Almost immediately, attention turned to the long-rumored tension between Hathaway and Blake Lively during that same period, allegedly centered around a high-profile Dior campaign. Both women were brand faces at the time, yet insiders claimed Blake quietly pulled strings behind the scenes to secure the campaign's defining spotlight moment. Back then, it was brushed off as industry gossip, but in the shadow of Blake's recent court scandal, the story suddenly feels far more calculated. Taken together, Zendaya's subtle warning and Hathaway's razor-sharp recollection don't point to a single bad moment. They reveal a pattern, a recurring strategy of influence, quiet manipulation, and power plays hidden beneath polished smiles. And once Hathaway spoke, that pattern became impossible to ignore.
In McKellar, I was obsessed in Capri. They have lemon, and then inside is lemon sorbet. And I was trying every single one to figure out which one was the best. And one day he showed up and he bought this lemon sorbet for all of.
Once Zendaya and Hathaway finally spoke out, fans and insiders began pulling at the loose threads. And what they uncovered revealed a deeply unsettling timeline stretching back nearly a decade. Patterns started to emerge, dates lined up too cleanly, and coincidences became harder to dismiss. In 2016, Zendaya was reportedly attached to a high-fashion brand campaign, a major visibility moment in her rising career. Just 1 week later, Blake Lively was announced as the face of the same line, and Zendaya's deal quietly vanished without explanation. No public fallout, no headlines, just a sudden disappearance. The pattern continued. In 2018, Hathaway was set to lead a female-led thriller that had early buzz and studio backing, only for the project to stall indefinitely. Months later, Blake signed a deal with the very same studio for a strikingly similar project. According to a former publicist who spoke anonymously to an independent journalist, Blake's team had a reputation for strategically inserting her into competing campaigns, manipulating public perception through timed leaks, controlled narratives, and perfectly placed media distractions. The alleged goal was simple but ruthless: eliminate competition without ever making it look personal. Even outside voices began to notice. Joe Rogan later summed it up bluntly, saying, "You start seeing the same fingerprints on every situation, the same PR moves, the same spotlight shifts, the same people going quiet. It's not drama, it's a machine." This wasn't just rivalry or industry tension, it was a chess game played quietly, patiently, and with precision. And if the pattern holds, Blake wasn't reacting, she was always several moves ahead, playing to win.
Blake, right in front of you! Blake! Over the shoulder! Hold on, Blake! We gotta focus!
Zendaya and Hathaway share more than just a place on that now controversial list. They also share a deep, openly stated respect for Justin Baldoni. Zendaya has publicly praised Baldoni for his work around mental health and modern masculinity, calling him one of the few men in Hollywood who genuinely listens during a 2021 interview. Hathaway has echoed similar sentiments in private industry conversations, describing Baldoni as values-driven in an industry that rarely rewards that kind of integrity. And that's where the story takes a sharper turn. Zendaya was once attached to a Baldoni-directed social justice film, a bold, conversation-starting project that was fully developed and nearly ready to shoot. Then, suddenly, production was delayed indefinitely. Studios cited concerns about the politically outspoken cast, and the project quietly slipped into limbo. Around the same time, Blake Lively's name surfaced in connection with the very same studio, this time tied to a safe, family-friendly franchise that executives were eager to prioritize. Officially, there was no connection. Unofficially, the timing raised eyebrows. Even more curious, Blake had previously discussed a documentary collaboration with Baldoni's production company, a project that generated early buzz before vanishing into development limbo, never to be mentioned again. Insiders claim this wasn't an isolated incident. Blake and Ryan Reynolds have long wielded significant behind-the-scenes influence in Hollywood through production deals, agent leverage, and investor relationships. According to multiple sources, several Baldoni-supported projects stalled or lost funding following quiet interventions that left no paper trail, only silence. Now, with Zendaya and Hathaway finally speaking out, those lost opportunities no longer look accidental. They look deliberate, strategic, and suddenly impossible to ignore.
I was so excited because we have to show the picture. Here you are next to Anna Wintour, who famously was the inspiration for The Devil Wears Prada. You're looking like your character, Annie. Was this on purpose? Was this by just design? How did this happen? Look at you.
I know that it was kind of nuts, wasn't it? It was by accident. I was supposed to wear something else. The shoes didn't fit. This was the other outfit that came. My hairstylist, who's so lovely, and I'd never worked with him before, just said, "Oh, I know what to do." And he threw my hair up in a ponytail. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, "Oh, that's funny. I wonder if anybody will notice." They noticed.
Hollywood's elite thrive on denial, but every so often the truth slips through the cracks. In this case, it came in the form of a confidential spreadsheet that began circulating quietly among journalists and former publicists. The document allegedly listed unpreferred talent compiled by major agencies to flag actors considered too vocal, too independent, or too difficult to control. Zendaya's name reportedly appeared on the list in 2019, followed by Hathaway's in 2021, each marked with the same warning: uncontrollable. The list wasn't illegal, but it was widely described as deeply unethical and quietly devastating. What raised even more eyebrows was the connection behind it. One of Blake Lively's longtime publicists was allegedly linked to 3 of the 5 firms involved in compiling or enforcing the list. From there, patterns became impossible to ignore. Stars who refused to align with Blake or Ryan Reynolds reportedly found themselves sidelined, cut out of major campaigns, excluded from studio meetings, and mysteriously absent from red carpet events they once dominated. Doors didn't slam shut, they simply stopped opening. Zendaya's team allegedly clashed with Blake's during a 2020 campaign shoot, where Blake's representatives reportedly demanded top billing and final approval over promotional materials, despite Zendaya being the original face of the campaign. Anne's experience followed a similar trajectory. After publicly criticizing Hollywood's performative activism, a quiet whisper campaign began branding her as difficult. Soon after, contracts slowed, public support softened, and opportunities evaporated. Then, almost seamlessly, Blake stepped into one of the roles Anne had been linked to. Coincidence? Hardly. When names, timelines, and consequences align this precisely, the narrative stops looking accidental and starts revealing a system at work. Old footage has a way of aging like a ticking time bomb. One clip resurfaced on TikTok and Reddit from the 2018 Met Gala, showing Zendaya and Hathaway radiant in red mid-interview. Suddenly, Blake Lively approaches, gently touches Hathaway's shoulder, and interrupts with a practiced smile. The reporter, clearly starstruck by Blake, shifts focus, leaving Hathaway's expression unmistakable, tight-lipped, composed, but undeniably annoyed. At the time, it was dismissed as playful celebrity antics, a harmless moment in the chaos of red carpet glamour. Now, with hindsight, it reads as a subtle, calculated power move. Another moment emerged from 2022, involving a rumored brand collaboration between Zendaya and Blake's fashion label. Initially announced with excitement, the project was quietly scrapped, officially due to creative differences. Insiders, however, claimed Blake was uncomfortable sharing the spotlight. Zendaya walked away, and fans started noticing a pattern.
Blake didn't collaborate, she absorbed, dominated, and quietly pushed out anyone who threatened her solo shine. The evidence was mounting, and the public began taking notice. The ripple effects of Zendaya and Hathaway's quiet rebellion spread fast. Florence Pugh, Rachel Ziegler, and even Emma Stone reportedly distanced themselves, not through public callouts, but through subtle moves, quiet unfollows, declined invitations, and skipped red carpet appearances. Blake's latest campaign, promoted as a celebration of female unity, failed spectacularly. Major stars declined to attend the launch, and media outlets pressed for answers, only to be met with silence. Joe Rogan, however, didn't hold back. They used to call Blake the queen of reinvention, he said, but the armor cracked, and now no one's afraid to talk. Behind the scenes, agents began advising clients to avoid Blake's projects. Publicists pulled back quotes, and studio executives started asking uncomfortable questions. As the silence around Blake grew, her once thriving empire began to echo with emptiness. An empire built on control, influence, and careful curation, now showing cracks in the armor that had once seemed impenetrable.